In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I further bear witness that Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. Let me take this opportunity to greet all of you, my dear sisters and brothers, particularly the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family, with the greeting words of peace. And as you know, we express them in the Arabic language. Assalamu alaikum. This evening's subject matter, although it is not directly related to the three-part series that I delivered under the title of Leave Him Alone and Let Him Work, however, it is very much relevant to that three-part series. It is also spot on relative and relevant to the position that I have been left with no other logical position to take. Though, as I've mentioned before, I do relish in the mandate of having to take this position. I should mention, however, that this position that I must boldly pursue can be likened respectively to the position that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan felt that he had to take when he stood up in 1977 after 3 years of supporting the leadership of Imam Warithuddin Muhammad. The minister strongly believed that he had to break with the Imam, not go against the Imam, much less shed the precious blood of the Imam or view the Imam as the enemy. But the minister felt that he had to break with the Imam respectfully so that he could effectively rebuild the work of his and our father, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Now imagine, if you will, what if the minister had never broken from the Imam? Where would you and I be? We certainly would not be where we are today. We would not have nearly 1/2 century of pilgrimages to Chicago, Detroit, Atlanta, and Africa, known today as Savior's Day. Well, now I too have had to break from my big brother, not Farrakhan, Allah forbid, but my dear brother, whose name I shall not mention just yet, but as we go on, it will become apparent just who it is that I believe that I too must break from. And in a few days, I will ask you again, after I have made the case for all that a prison reform program should be, I will ask you again to imagine if your brother would have never broken respectfully from our brother. Again, not Farrakhan. So this evening, with the help of Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, we shall take up a subject titled, A Break from Within. Your time is up. It is now time for a new tree to be planted. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has pointed out to us from his teacher, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, that whenever the books or the scriptures talk about trees, or whenever trees are being discussed, it is always a reference to a man and or a people. It says in the book, I think, I see men chapter 8, verse 24. Now, it may sometimes refer to physical trees. So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us, for every physical reality, there is also a spiritual reality and vice versa. But reality is their common denominator. However, the context in any event will make it very, very clear as to the nature of what we're dealing with, so that we don't run the risk of becoming confused. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad further states, this tree in the garden was none other than a person. Message to the Black Man, page 126, last paragraph. Now, the Holy Quran talks about how a good tree is likened unto a good word, and an evil tree is likened unto an evil word. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said to us that trees know nothing, meaning that they know neither good nor evil, and that this tree is none other than a person and or people. Page 126, Message to the Black Man, last paragraph. In the Maulana Muhammad Ali translation of the Quran, in his commentary, 1311, if you have one of the older editions as I have from 1994, or footnote 26a, if you have one of the newer editions, Maulana says that the evil deed, listen now, the evil deed is likened unto a tree. Stop right there. Elijah Muhammad already pointed out to you and I that trees know nothing. So we know that we are dealing and talking about a man and or people. In the books, namely the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, they all take up the subject of a tree, namely a fig tree, but nonetheless a tree. And right off the bat, we should know that they are all referencing to a man and or a people. But for this case for which I am presenting to you this evening, they are all referencing to both a man and a people, as we shall see. This subject is covered extensively in the aforementioned Gospels, but what is it talking about, and who are they talking about? And the master saw a fig tree in the way. He came to it and found nothing thereon but leaves only. And he said unto it, let no fruit grow on this tree forever. And presently the fig tree went away, or it withered away, excuse me. Then said the master to the dresser or the gardener, which by all accounts is a man. The master said, behold, I have come seeking fruit from this fig tree and found none. Cut it down. Why cumbereth it to the ground? Alexa, what does the statement in the book of Luke, King James Version, why cumbereth it the ground? What does that mean?
Cumber here means the fig tree was making the ground barren, sapping nutrients and preventing other vines from fruiting, so it should be cut down.
This makes the implication clear that not only was this fig tree barren or cursed, but the entire vineyard was compromised of its ability to produce other healthy trees. And the gardener...
Exactly. The barren fig tree was choking the vineyard, pulling nutrients away and hindering other vines. Want to explore how other biblical writers interpreted this parable differently?
No, thank you, Alexa.
Got it. Charles. Take care.
You take care as well. And the gardener answering said unto him, Lord, let it alone this year also, till I shall dig about it and dung it. And if it bear fruit, well. And if not, then after that thou shalt cut it down. Now the question becomes, did the master give this man another year, a fourth year, to get it right? Well, the answer is definitively given in Matthew, Mark, Luke. Matthew's account of the master's word. Let no fruit grow henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered. Mark's account of the master's words. Let no man eat from this tree forever. Luke's account of the master's words. Cut it down. So it becomes clear that this gardener or this dresser of the vineyard was not given an extension of time. The tree was ordered to be cut down. A pronouncement was given by the master to let no man, and by extension, let no woman, eat from this tree forevermore. So in the context of our discussion, the question again becomes, who and what does this fig tree represent that cannot feed those whom it was meant to feed, those who would benefit from it? But more importantly, according to the book, it did not, cannot, and has not fed the master. In the last 3 years that the master has been coming to this tree for food. Now, we're going to bring this down to the modern times. Why should we bring this down to the modern times, Brother Cam? We should bring this down to the modern times because there was never an actual event in which the Jesus of 2,000 years ago literally cursed a physical fig tree. Alexa, is there any independent historical documents that verify the event of Jesus of 2,000 years ago literally cursing a physical fig tree?
The only accounts of Jesus cursing a fig tree come from the Gospels themselves. There are no independent historical records that confirm a literal event.
So if this cursing of the fig tree did not take place 2,000 years ago, and it did not, goodbye, Alexa. Thank you.
Yep, That's the scholarly consensus. The story works as a symbolic teaching whether or not it happened literally. Take care, Charles.
Thanks again, Alexa. So if this cursing of the fig tree did not take place 2,000 years ago, and it did not, then it becomes imperative that we who are the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family must determine if the one program that was created to feed us, feed the master, feed the National Board of Laborers and the Executive Council fits the description of the cursed fig tree. Now, the master here is none other than the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Secondly, it is the National Board of Laborers. Thirdly, it is the Executive Council of the Nation of Islam, and all of whom represent the Jesus. We know from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan that his teacher taught him that the Bible is 75% prophecy, 25% of which is actual, factual history. Well, I would like to postulate, if I may, that we are in fact looking at this event that has and now is taking place in a process called time. When we look at the state of the barren and even non-productive state of prison reform ministry program in the Nation of Islam, what do we see? We can look on a local level, a regional level, and a national level, and either the master can come to the coffers or the tree and eat, or he cannot. Alexa, what is the meaning of the word coffers?
Coppers is the plural of copper. It often denotes low-value copper coins or change, and can also refer to things made of the copper metal itself.
Alexa, what is the meaning of the word coffers?
Coffers are plural of coffer, meaning either sturdy boxes or chests for storing money and valuables, or figuratively the funds or treasury an organization holds. They're often used to refer to a chest of cash. In finance, coffers denotes the available money of a government or company. Want to hear some example sentences that use the word coffer so you can see how it's used?
No, Alexa, you've done fine. Thanks again.
Much appreciated, Charles. Glad I could help. Hope the rest of your night's a good one.
Now, we don't have to ask whether the master can feed himself from this tree, because the books and the current actual facts of a barren prison reform program makes it crystal clear that there was and is nothing to eat for the master. In a national prison reform program, in a regional prison reform program, and or a local prison reform program. Talk back to me. Now, what I have found to be completely and thoroughly perplexing is that with all of the gross inactivity and nothingness of a real and tangible substance taking place within our prison reform program on a local, regional, and national level, why is there no accountability? There is absolutely no accountability. Well, upon closer examination and study of the book, I discovered that the answer or the perplexity is hidden right there on the pages of the book. It said in the book that there were no figs on the tree, but leaves only. The scholars have pointed out to us that the leafy tree looks promising from afar, but was completely empty on the inside upon closer examination. Perhaps we should take a closer look at the National Prison Reform Program to see if it is producing the necessary fruits. The master again says in the book, not only have I come to this tree, and there was no food today, but I have come to this same tree for the last 3 years, and I have found nothing. And again, this gardener, or this dresser of the vineyard, who by all accounts is a man. He's not a spirit, he's not a spook, he's a real live flesh and blood man. He attempted to plead with the master for yet another year. Wait a minute. If you haven't gotten the tree up and running in the last 3 years, what makes you think that the master would be convinced that all of a sudden you can get it up and running today? But we already learned from the preceding 3 gospels that this person or this man did not get an extension of time. The master says again in the book, and let no man ever eat from this tree ever again. These are not my words. These are the words of the master. So what I look like, brother? So now I have to break from you, brother. What I look like trying, as I have for the last 10 years, trying to eat from your tree. And your tree has been cursed. Your tree has been withered. Your tree has been cut down by the master. Ordered to be cut down by the master. So I must break away, because according to the master, your time is up. And again, this is not a breakaway from the Nation of Islam, and certainly not a breakaway from Farrakhan. Allah forbid. But it is rather a break from within. I must therefore plant a new tree, one that the master, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, the Executive Council, the National Board of Laborers, and the men and women who are from among the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family, who have been deprived of food from your tree. I must plant a new tree so that we can all eat. I must plant a new tree so the Nation of Islam can all eat from, no matter the season. Nearly 3 years ago, I traveled to about 30 cities. One of them is highlighted, only one is highlighted on my Facebook account. I was in Indianapolis, that's the one that's highlighted, and something told me not to highlight any more of my travels. I remember what Jacob told his son, don't talk too much. So I only entered one account in one of 30 cities that I went on a fact-finding mission. And what I was able to determine was the literal death of the prison reform program in the Nation of Islam. The book did not lie. The book does not lie. And actual, factual, current events or a current reckoning will not lie. For the 10 years since having won my freedom and the 18 years, 8 months of being on lock, that's nearly 30 years. Page 25 of our Final Call newspaper pays homage to the prison reform program of the Nation of Islam. It has not produced or presented anything of lasting significance, at least in the last 30 years. Need I go further? I want to make this case very, very crystal clear. And I realize so much is at stake. I only want to see an accounting of a national prison reform ministry. I want to see the vital signs, or rather have the vital signs checked. Because if your work has been documented, that it has been cut away, that no man or woman shall eat from your work again, and your work has been cut down, that means a new tree on new ground. Not in the old ground, because your tree, as the scripture bears witness, caused the entire vineyard to be compromised. That means no other trees can be planted where your tree was planted, brother. And I realize that there is so much at stake. And I'm willing to risk it all. Some may call me and say, Brother Charles, why you doing what you're doing? Well, if we look in the history of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, as I pointed out in the beginning, he felt after 3 years of supporting the leadership of Imam Warithuddin Muhammad that he could no longer continue with the Imam. So respectfully, he broke with the Imam. And I'm telling you that likewise, I must respectfully break from my brother. Now that will be hard on the ears of some, but according to those that I spoke with in more than 30 cities, this will be music to their ears. Kind of likened unto when the word got out that Farrakhan was rebuilding his father's work. I have spoken with many of those believers who were around at that time. I have read countless accounts of those who were around that time. And from what I have been able to gather on this fact-finding mission, there was complete joy from the East Coast to the West Coast, and from the North and from the South. Now, I don't liken myself unto the minister, but I recognize from his example and from his courage that he had to break from the Imam. And many will tell you, even the minister himself, that his life was on the line. You've heard about Molotov cocktails being thrown into his house. His life was on the line. He will also tell you that Imam Warithuddin Muhammad's life was on the line. I don't know if he has ever made it clear just who was bombing his house. I won't say that he's saying that it was followers of the Imam Warithuddin Muhammad who was doing that, but what I will say from the history is that his life was on the line. The Imam's life was on the line because of this break, and because Allah was in the midst of this. Neither the Imam nor the minister lost their lives as a result of the break. We're hoping in this instance that history will repeat itself. Because listen, brothers and sisters, I spent nearly 20 years away studying. And I have seen so much that represents the potential of a prison reform ministry in the Nation of Islam on a local, regional, and national level. And God willing, from this platform, I will unfold and unpack all of what I have seen, all of what I have studied, and all of what I plan to endeavor in this plan of action. As I've said so many times on so many occasions, there is so much that has to be done. That's why I am taking the position that I'm taking. I don't mean to embarrass anybody. I don't mean to show anybody up. That is not my intention, any more than it was the minister's intention to show the Imam up. It was done so, according to the minister and according to the history, that the minister could effectively rebuild the work of his and our Father. So likewise, there is so much potential among the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family that you have to just continue to tune in and be patient with your brother. I wish I didn't have to go this route. I really wish I didn't. But there are so many among the members of our formerly incarcerated family who have gone to sleep on this program, the ministry program, the prison reform ministry program. They may be active in other areas, but they have been rocked to sleep through non-activity from a national level. They have been rocked to sleep. I could call out names of those, but I won't do that. I will, however, as time goes on, I will mention those brothers that are in those cities. They're all across the nation. And every one of them that I've spoken with, there are some exceptions. I'll tell you this, there are some exceptions in New York City of a prison reform, an active prison reform program. But those exceptions, even in New York City, are not what they could be. So please stay tuned, brothers and sisters. And I wanna say something before it slips my mind. You've heard me say recently that my work, at least here in the Southwest region, while it is first and foremost for the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family, I have said also that my work is but an extension of our Southwest Regional Minister, Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad. And you've also heard me say that my work here in the Southwest region is also an extension of our student brother, regional captain, Brother Stephen Muhammad. But you brought something to my attention, and I apologize for that. But I did not omit the sisters intentionally. But I want to say here and go on record as saying that my work among the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family is also an extension of our sister student regional captain, Sister Malika Muhammad, because many of the sisters from among the members of our formerly incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family who will join the ranks from prison, I want to be able to point you to our sister regional captain and all of those who work out of the sister student regional captain's office. So my work, of course, again, and let me say this very, very clearly, is a work of our sister student regional captain, Malika Muhammad. So many of you sisters that are from among the members of our incarcerated, formerly incarcerated family, I don't want you to be left out any longer. You have been left out. I don't care how many years you go back and read about this paper. You, and we have to apologize for this, you will never read about the sisters who are among the members of our incarcerated family who love the master, who love the messenger, and who love the minister. You will never ever read about those. And I'm telling you, and I'm gonna do an entire episode on this particular subject, but why, or rather what would our prison reform program in the Nation of Islam on a local, regional, and national level, what would it be? Or rather, what will it be when we actively bring our sisters on board? And you will see all that it could have been had we invited our sisters from among the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family on board. You will see that. I'm telling you, when I was on lock many years ago, when they used to allow the prisons to write back and forth, there was a community of us. This was on the unit of Ferguson in Midway, Texas. Yes, sir. I'm going to shout Ferguson out. Midway, Texas. Mid-90s, we could write from unit to unit. And the community of Muslims on the Ferguson unit was writing to some sisters that are on these female units. And I can tell you from personal experience that these are some show enough for real sisters, and in a few days they will begin to make themselves known, to make their presence known, to make their skills known, to make their love for the master, the messenger, and the minister, and the Nation of Islam known. We're going to, and I know there's some stuff that's at risk for even talking about going into the women's prisons here in Texas. But I don't care. Our sisters have to be given this program, which should be 75% for our sisters, for our women, and for our girls. It should be like that, according to the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And in fact, a nation can rise no higher than its woman. It didn't say, except if she's a member of our incarcerated, formerly incarcerated family. Well, if she's locked up, that don't count for her. I'm telling you that whether she's a member of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family, our nation can rise no higher than her who is from among the members of our incarcerated and formerly incarcerated family. That really is all that I have, or rather all that I wish to present to you. We're going on 40 minutes on this particular episode, and if you have stayed here to the end, kudos to you. Kudos to you. I want you to listen, and if you like what you're hearing, I want you to like it. I want you to share it. I want you to subscribe to this, and most importantly, brothers and sisters, I want you to engage with your brother regarding a prison reform program, or as we call it here, the Office of Prison Reform and Prevention. And it represents that new tree that is being planted right as we speak, that when the master comes to eat from this tree, he will not find it barren and destitute. When the National Board of Laborers and the National Executive Council comes to eat from this tree, from the coffers of this tree, they will not find this tree barren and fruitless. I don't care what the season is. So, dear brothers and sisters and brothers, thank you very, very much for listening. And if you stayed around for these 40-something odd minutes, again, kudos, and kudos to you. Thank you very much for listening and watching as I greet you in peace. My Lord, thank you for listening. Assalamu alaikum.